So first and foremost, I'd like to start off by thanking Real Jinn Stories for creating this as a means for people to talk about some of their stories and experiences with the unseen. It is important for us to start making these things more known because it's more common than we think. And now in a time where witchcraft has reached everywhere in our society, you will find it in games, in TV shows, in movies, on billboards, in the elevator, on the bus, everywhere you go now, there is symbolisms and messages of witchcraft where it has become something that is becoming cool and the in thing to do of the times. There are many things that have been happening, and people don't usually get to hear about it. There was an incident where we were taking a class with Sheikh Saeed Rageah, and he was doing this class at Ryerson University, downtown Toronto. So we got into that hall, and first we were doing our textbook stuff about it, and then he started trying to tell us a little bit about how people are into witchcraft and how that stuff is very common today. And how you can find black magic symbolisms and ideas prevalent in our society all over the place. Then he started talking about the world of the jinn, and he tried to teach us how to do ruqya on each other. So he got us to stand up and to face the person next to us and grab the piece of meat with your index finger and your thumb. Grab the piece of meat between their thumb and their index finger. So everybody was holding each other's index finger, the meat between the index finger and the thumb of each individual. And first we started reciting Surah Fatiha. Then we went into the beginning of Baqarah. And before he could even, and then he started getting to the verse of Sulaiman in Surah Baqarah. Before he could even get very far in that verse, we heard a grunt at the back of the classroom, like, and we looked back, and there was this girl in a niqab, and she threw the other woman's hand away from her. And Sheikh Saeed, he continued to recite, and he glanced up. He knew something was not right, but he glanced up, and that same woman in the niqab, she changed her shoulders. Like it pushed forward while her head pushed a little bit back like a bulldog. And she started to walk like a bulldog towards the stairs. And the other girls were screaming because they were scared, and people were telling them to calm down. And as Sheikh Saeed was reciting on stage with one of the other students, the girl started to walk down the stairs in a heavy way, with her shoulders puffed up like a bulldog, like somebody who wants to show that they're strong and they push out their chest. So she started to walk down the stairs in a heavy way towards the exit. And Sheikh Saeed, he rolled his eyes like, not again. Or like, what have I done this time? And he jumped off the stage and he went over to head up the stairs while this thing is coming down the stairs. And he started to recite. And he put his hand, I guess, close to her temple area. It was around her head area. And even before he got close to her, she dropped right there in her place. Dropped right in her place. And he asked her, where is it? And she answered in a voice that sounded like 3 different voices from one mouth. I don't know. Where is it? And he kept reciting, and she was shaking. And said, Ottawa, like it's in Ottawa. And he said, go get it. And it said, 1 hour. And he said, now. And it said, and then it said, half an hour. And he put his hands back on the head and started to recite, and it started screaming and shaking. Screaming with like 3 different voices. It was really creepy. And then he said, now. And she said, 15 minutes. He said, now. And she started to shake and shake and shake and shake and shake with her fist tightly closed. And then when she stopped shaking, she opened her hand, and there was a type of bag, a brownish type of bag made of, I don't know what kind of fabric that was, but it had like a ribbon tied on it, and there was something inside of it. And he took one of the moderators, one of the female moderators of the course, and he told her how to dispose of it and told her to take it into the washroom. And she went, and then he started asking this thing, who did this to you? And apparently it was the auntie of the girl, because she was supposed to marry her son. Her niece was supposed to marry her son, but she met somebody in Toronto, and they decided to get married, and out of jealousy, the auntie did magic on her niece. After they took that girl into the hallway and Sheikh Saeed was doing this thing, people were scared. So I shouted up to keep reciting Ayatul Kursi, because we don't know if this thing is still in here or trying to jump inside of somebody else. People started getting more nervous, and they just kept reciting Ayatul Kursi. And that was the end of the lesson. Sheikh Saeed said, we'll continue tomorrow. The next day, you had triple the amount of students coming to the class. Even some hoodlums from Regent Park area, and they tried to sit in the front row. And it's like, while he was doing the lesson, he gave a time for questions, and one of those boys with the baggy pants and the backwards hat, he put his hand up. He's like, yo, Sheikh, are you gonna exorcise a jinn today too? And Sheikh Saeed already knew that there was a problem with how that situation was handled. And he said, no, we're not going to be doing any of that stuff anymore. If you came to learn, you're welcome to learn. If you came to just look at to see something cool, that time is done, and we're not doing that anymore. And just to experience that, I was the first person in the masjid for Fajr. I was reading the Salah, and I was the last person to leave. I was reading more Quran and making sure I was in a state of wudu. When you actually have an experience with this unseen world, it does increase your iman. Not that we didn't believe before, but to see it yourself, it brings a different type of reality to the situation. And we pray that Allah protect us from these kind of things, and protect us from the evil of that which He has created. The shayateen min al-insi wal jinn.